Welcome to TMZ Live. There is yet another criminal investigation involving Taylor Frankie Paul over alleged domestic violence with her baby daddy, Dakota.
Yeah, no shocker that this one also involves Dakota Mortensen, who is the guy who was her boyfriend when she went on that attack in 2023, throwing the bar stools at him.
So this...
But apparently in 2024, there was another incident, which would now be the third since 2023.
He waited a long time before reporting it, but apparently we are told that he has video of this incident. It happened at his house in a nearby community, and he's saying Taylor went after him yet again and has submitted that to the police, and the police have an open investigation. Although, the one thing we don't know right now that I think is really interesting is when did they really look at this seriously? Was it long before or after this video came out that we posted last week?
When did the police start looking into the 2024 incident?
That's right. Were they, was it just sitting there and then all of a sudden they said, crap, we got to do something now because this other video came out? Or were they looking at it all along?
Well, it actually sounds like they didn't really get word of the 2024 incident until Dakota, late February, we're told, went in and proposed these allegations to cops. So it did happen back in 2024, but he's not coming clean about it all, or at least, you know, making the allegations until very recently.
So why is that?
Why is significant.
Why did he wait?
It's unclear, maybe because now
I'm with
the ball's rolling.
Because you said it was late February when he went.
Yeah.
So remember, we know that also in February, the last week of February, was when the alleged incident happened with Taylor, where the two consecutive nights that they were hanging out together. Both nights ended in one or the other, depending on who you talk to, attacking the other.
So he's saying...
And the police are investigating those two incidents.
Because Dakota actually went to the police in that one, so it's sort of like he's now unloading and saying, and this also happened.
Right.
So the question is, so now we have 3 incidents that we know of. You think there are 3 incidents and only 3 incidents with these 2?
I mean, we've known from talking to people that have hung out with them for years that this relationship has always been extremely toxic. And they know both of them know it's very toxic, but yet they always come back to each other. So, I mean, in my opinion, I believe there could be other incidents.
There could be others that, for whatever reason, they didn't report at the time.
Right.
But now he, and also she, I mean, Taylor could also be thinking back about incidents and going, well, wait a second, maybe I want to report that.
There are 2 things going on here, though. One is that there are independent investigations. In a way, the bigger thing is she is on probation right now for what happened in 2023.
Right.
If there is another incident where she did the same thing that got her convicted the first time around, or at least where she pled guilty, they could violate her probation. She pled guilty to a felony.
Aggravated assault.
And she could end up in prison because of these other 2 incidents if the judge believes that she was the aggressor in this. So she has a lot on the line. We should say
for her part, she at least 3 weeks ago, or now almost 4 weeks ago, she says he's the one who attacked her.
Now, with all that said...
The other thing that I was thinking about now that we've learned about this incident today, this new one, is last week we reported she had lost custody of the kid until at least April 7th when they have to go back to court. He has the kid for now, right? Because of all the probation stuff.
Dakota has, yeah.
So does this new incident that the public now know about, does that set her back even more or even further back with not getting access to the kid?
When he got the restraining order, right? Because this is because of the restraining order, she can't see the kid. He didn't mention that 2024 incident in his restraining order.
Correct.
But the thing is, if he has custody now, this is the second time she's lost custody because... of
her other kids with Tate.
With Tate.
She also lost temporarily.
Tate went to court and said she's not suitable to be a parent right now. And they agreed, her lawyer agreed that custody would be yanked from her and that she'd have to do alcohol ed and other things in order to regain custody. So this would be the second time.
Right. Yeah. And we are told that there is video of this 2024 incident. So if it's anything like that 2023 incident, I'm sure.
Now get this. She's getting paid for The Bachelorette.
All that being said, everything we just said, and we were wondering why she seemed so lighthearted and that she was out and about in Utah. She's still getting paid, even though ABC is not airing The Bachelorette at this point.
It makes sense, though, too, because essentially she would have completed all her contractual agreements, right? She filmed the show in its entirety, minus, a reunion that I think they do after she picks her guy. But she was promoting the show up until the day we broke the video on the internet.
Well, and also, she didn't violate the contract. I mean, she was an open book. They all knew what she had done.
Right.
They just rolled the dice.
They don't have a leg to stand on if they didn't want to pay her.
No, they got to pay her. The last thing ABC wants is for Taylor to sue ABC, and then they lose that in addition to the show.
Yeah. Another thing that we also know that we're working on is that production for Mormon Wives, right? That has been the big question. We broke the story that they halted production, and one of the big factors was the fact that the cast members didn't feel comfortable continuing to film with the allegations that had been leveraged. We're now learning that the production company can't move forward until these investigations are all closed up.
Well, that could take months and months and months.
In addition, we're also being told by the people that we've spoken to close to the production that they're uncertain how, do they move forward with the show without her if she didn't return?
Yeah, but she's the star of the show.
There's so many factors that are at play. This show is not filming for a long time.
Season 5 isn't coming back for a long time. It's going to
be
a
long time.
I may not even be here.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Vaughn. I'm coming in from Los Angeles. Everything I've learned about this woman has been against my will. I feel like I know more about her than my own family members at this point. But the whole thing is just really sad. The body cam footage, I just feel like I'm watching something I shouldn't be seeing.
Which, by the way, is why you're watching it.
Yeah. I do think she deserves to get paid for The Bachelorette. She put in all that work, and speaking from firsthand experience, it's a lot of work to film that show. But I do think that the producers know everything that's going on. So
back this up.
Yeah.
What firsthand experience?
Were you on?
I was on Matt James' season.
You were what?
I was on Matt James' season.
Matt James. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. She was one of the suitors for.
Huh.
I was. Yeah. I didn't do anything TMZ worthy. Thank God.
Yeah. Savannah Guthrie is absolutely tormented by the thoughts of what her mother went through the night she was abducted, and she's speaking out about it in really painful detail in an interview that she has done with NBC. Clearly, she is thinking about returning at some point. There's a report that she's going to come back in April, but she sat down with Hoda Kotb, who's been sitting in for Savannah while she's out, and talked about these thoughts that haunt her every night.
Someone needs to do the right thing. We are in agony.
Yeah.
We are in agony. It is unbearable. And to think of what she went through. I wake up every night, in the middle of the night, every night. And in the darkness, I imagine her terror, and I will not hide my face. That she needs to come home now.
Yes. What really strikes me about this and the power of this is that when a case goes cold and everybody kind of forgets, because this was front page news until it wasn't, with the war and all, and it is just as raw for
Savannah
and the family.
That's what this reminds the public of.
And you see it. And then the question, when she comes back, there are people in our office who were saying in our morning meeting, how does she come back? How does she do something light? This is called life, where, she's going to have this grief until they get some resolution. But at the same time, most people don't paralyze themselves. I don't think she's going to.
I'm actually surprised just the timing of the interview, maybe she wanted to speak out now, but I'm actually surprised they're not saving this for when she returns to the show.
That'll happen too.
You think they'll do
Oh,
another,
yeah.
another?
Oh, yeah.
Because I
Be
kind of
another.
thought, like, obviously it's been reported that their ratings have been through the roof since her mom went missing. I think they're up like some 30% or something. So, I mean, obviously this is going to grab even more people. So,
But I think, I mean, yes, obviously that is a benefit that NBC could have. I
Yeah.
think for Savannah, sitting down to do it now, and by the way, that just a clip they released today, the full interview airs, I think, Thursday and Friday. It's 2 parts. But the reason for her to do this is exactly what you said. This gets not only the public thinking about it again, there's one person out there that she's trying to impact, one person who knows something and wants that person to see what she and her family are going through, and that maybe they soften and maybe they finally go to authorities. They tell somebody what they know.
We have talked to the FBI for a long time in this case, and they are confident. It may be a month, it may be 6 months. Somebody's going to go to a bar somewhere,
they're gonna say
and
something.
they are going to talk to a bartender after having a couple of drinks, and it's going to unlock things. And obviously, you know, Savannah even said weeks ago that it would take a miracle for her mom to still be alive. And I think people kind of understand that. But you need closure.
Yeah.
And the FBI is really confident here that even though they can't solve it now, somebody is going to say something that will unlock this.
Hi, my name is Rosie, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And honestly, the update of there being no update about Miss Nancy is kind of crazy. It is tough seeing Miss Nancy, seeing Savannah and her family go through this really tough time, especially since it's been about 51 days since Miss Nancy's had her medication. So I can completely understand them wanting some closure, and especially like what she did this morning, or when's going to come out about her having another interview to bring it towards the limelight, since it's kind of dimmed down. So I can completely understand why she did it, and it puts this whole thing into perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So sad.
Coming up.
The priests went to the Pope looking for some backup because they say that there is a rise in the number of exorcisms. Joining us now, someone who knows about, has actually performed exorcisms, Father Dan Rehill.
So, what's the concern the priests have, and what was addressed with the Pope?
Be right back.
So the Pope had a meeting with some priests from around the world who have a concern. I guess you could look at this as the priests went to the Pope looking for some backup because they say that there is a rise of occultism and Satanism around the world, and that they are seeing an increase in the number of exorcisms. So a group of priests who are experts, who are actual exorcists, it's called the International Association of Exorcists, and they met with the Pope earlier this month. We're just now finding out about this meeting and what they were asking the Pope for, what they say is needed around the world. So joining us now, someone who knows about, has actually performed exorcisms. That is Father Dan Rehill. He's also the host of his own podcast, Battle Ready Podcast, and he is joining us now. Father Dan, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
We appreciate it. So let's start just maybe educating us a little bit, because personally I'm confused that there is this alarm over exorcisms and Satanism, but with exorcisms, that's something that's done. You do it. So what's the concern the priests have, and what was addressed with the Pope?
I think the concern of the exorcist was, number one, there's a rise in evil. And when there's a rise in evil, there's a rise in possessions, okay? The more people are curious about the occult and witchcraft, New Age, all these practices, the more they're opening doors to allow demons to possess them. And that becomes a problem for the general population of the church, because there's only so many exorcists that can do the rite of exorcism. And I think one of their concerns was they wanted every diocese to be assigned at least one exorcist. That was one of the requests. Because sadly, there are many dioceses that don't have an exorcist, and those people just suffer and have no real place to turn to be liberated.
So, Father, you are a priest in the Diocese of Nashville.
Correct.
In your area, have you seen what the concern that was brought to the Pope? Have you seen an increase in the number of exorcisms you're doing?
Lately, no. In fact, we're having sort of a revival of the faith down here in Tennessee. There's an uprising of a lot of people coming into the church, record numbers, in fact. But I'll tell you, when I did see a surge, that was during COVID. During COVID, the cases tripled. And I think that was primarily because the churches were shut down. People were locked up at home with idle time on their hands to do nothing but get into mischief. And the cases skyrocketed.
So, again, and I apologize for my ignorance here. I'm still confused because there are two things going on. One is the rise of Satanism, which apparently was addressed, which to me is not so much saying I need an exorcism as much as I embrace the devil. I mean, in a way. So those two things are at odds, that there's a rise in people who have that embodied in them and want it exorcised versus people who then embrace what's inside of them. So I'm hearing two things that seem polar opposites to me.
Okay, so there are a small group of people who directly want to worship the devil. That's not a large group. But then there's people that dabble with witchcraft and New Age practices, thinking that they're kind of playing with something. Maybe it's sort of like a hobby, and then they do get attacked by the demons. And then when they're in trouble, they seek exorcism. And even the ones who are in it for the long haul, who want power, and so they're participating in these demonic rites, eventually the devil turns on them. And that's when they need help. And when they need help is when they turn up on the doorstep of the church.
So what are the signs? I think some people watching this, Father, will say, does the devil really exist? And some people will say, does God exist? What evidence would you, if someone were to pose that question to you, you've performed exorcisms. What evidence would you say you've seen to say that yes, the devil exists?
Okay, the classic three would be superhuman strength, remarkable strength that is not of this world, knowledge of hidden things they couldn't know, and an aversion to holy objects. If you see those things in any combination, that generally we would say there's probably a demonic presence there. It's sometimes difficult to discern the difference between that and, say, a mental illness. But I've had cases of people who levitated off the couch, and so it was clearly not a mental illness.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely not mental illness when you see that. I mean, that's the classic thing that you see in Hollywood. It's what we saw in the film The Exorcist. How often do you see that level where you are, as you said, seeing someone levitating?
It's rare because of all the cases that cross my desk, out of every, say, 100, maybe one has actual possession. And of those, maybe 10% manifest in those really hyperbolic ways that are there more for the drama of getting the attention of anybody in the room. But typically, you don't see all those things come together in one person.
You mentioned a surge in evil, and that somehow aligns with what ultimately becomes the need for an exorcism. This surge for evil is interesting because there are a lot of people who say the roots are not in the devil as much as they are in politics and in, the social diatribes that you hear all over the place. So how do you distinguish a surge in evil from the kind of toxic world that we're now living in and something that is otherworldly?
So I would say when we're seeing this much division's the calling card of Lucifer. Division, public nudity. There's certain things you could see in the culture where you say, well, this is being influenced by demonic minions. And I think our culture is riddled with it because I think a lot of the culture is not tied to any kind of formal worship of God.
I'm sure you're familiar with this new version of Satanism where it embodies
the modern Satanism.
Yeah.
Because we were looking this up just to figure out what the priests were talking to the Pope about. But modern Satanism says that people embrace compassion, justice, bodily autonomy, freedom, scientific beliefs, and fallibility.
Democrats.
So that's what some people would look at that and say that it's like they're describing Democrats. But I don't know if modern Satanism is something, do you view that as something different?
Is that the Satanic Church?
It's what was this sort? It was like the modern satanic church or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if they're going to use Satan's name in their title, they have to know what he's about. And he's not about freedom. He's about bondage. So almost everything they're listing there is kind of an inversion of what the truth is.
So it's both. You're saying this is bogus.
Well, they list. You're saying basically they list it like that as a sales pitch to get more people.
They could. I mean, he is the father of lies.
I got to say,
Yeah,
we're
that's
out of time. But what I find really fascinating is, I have my own personal beliefs, and even people who are not religious, they're drawn to people like you. You're almost that bridge between non-believers and believers, because even if you're a non-believer, you're fascinated by the things you do. So we really appreciate you coming on today. I'm
Eye-opening.
I'm in one of those camps, and I'm still really interested in this.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Father.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Coming up.
NFL superstar Puka Nacua, wide receiver for the Rams. Well, he had a very interesting New Year's Eve.
They don't deny that he bit her. They say that he bit her in a playful way.
Be right back.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events.
BB Rexa was looking hot on vacation.
Look at the water, too. Did you just say, look at the water?
I mean, I'll be honest, that is what I was looking at. NFL superstar Puka Nacua, wide receiver for the Rams. Well, he had a very interesting New Year's Eve, hanging out with some group of people, including a young woman. And she has now said that during that celebration that night, Puka did two things. Bit her, and by the way, she has some evidence, she says, of bite marks. You can, very intense bite marks, but also that during their conversation that night, he said something horribly anti-Semitic, blank the Jews. Now,
one of those is a crime.
She has now, yes, well, depending on who he said it to, the other one could be a crime too. But anyway, she is now filed, in addition to going to police with this, she has filed a lawsuit against him. And Puka is talking about filing a lawsuit of his own.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Charles. So Puka has vowed to file a defamation lawsuit against the woman. Now,
this is his lawyer.
This is his lawyer.
Puka denies these allegations in the strongest possible terms.
Here's what's interesting.
And goes on to say they're going to file a defamation lawsuit.
Here's what's interesting. So I've talked to Levi. I talked to him yesterday. They don't deny that he bit her. They say that he bit her in a playful way, that he did not injure her, that the marks went away after a couple minutes. They went on. They partied that night. They've got videos of the girl partying and dancing, and she was totally fine. What he is saying he did not do was make the comment, the anti-Semitic comment. He completely, adamantly denies that.
Well, but he's also saying that the bite was not an aggressive criminal
that they were kind of playing around. Right. They were all having a good time.
So where's the bite on her body? I'm trying to figure out.
On her left shoulder. Charles, her left shoulder. They were sitting in a car just like we are right now. They were in a van. And Harvey would be Puka, and Puka apparently turns to her and bites her on the shoulder.
So why does she say he did that?
She says it was out of nowhere. They were at the restaurant. She claims he makes the comment. Then they get into the car to go to the club. And she says that he was acting like touchy and feely and was drunk. And all of a sudden, she says he drops his head into her friend's lap and bites her friend on the leg, and then turns to her and bites her on the shoulder. Out of nowhere, she claims.
So it's not. She's not saying it's a fight. She's saying,
not a fight at all. No. Just out of nowhere. Just as if we're talking, and then he does it.
And I know his story is that it was a playful thing, and that the bite mark went away after a little while. I don't know when that photo was taken, but that looks intense.
She said about 30 to 40. Yeah. So she filed for a restraining order, which, by the way, the judge did not grant. The judge denied, although they have set a hearing for mid-April.
Well, right. I mean, the reason they wouldn't grant that is because you need an imminent threat.
Right.
And
this is 3 months ago.
And well, I know, but what they do is they set a hearing if there's no imminent threat.
Right.
And if she couldn't show imminent threat, doesn't mean the judge disbelieves her. It just means that there's nothing immediate.
Right. So she says that happened they took the photograph 30 to 40 minutes after the bite, and she still had that very visible mark. I mean, look at that.
It's really interesting because he is not saying I didn't do that.
No.
He's just saying it was playful.
Yeah. Harvey, they told me he bit her. I mean, they told me that.
I'll tell you, I'm not going to I don't want to prejudge this, but if he bit her And when he says it was playful, if it's not something she was into and he just did it out of the blue, that's a problem for him. That's a problem for him.
You know what's interesting? It doesn't, the sense I get, they're not so worried about the money here.
As the statement about blank the Jews.
That's what they're worried about. Because you remember with Aiden Ross, the big streamer, when he did the anti-Semitic trope, rubbing his hands together? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So I think they are worried that he is now getting this reputation that he is somehow anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic. And they are really, that's the front that they are fighting here. They're not even really fighting the biting.
That's interesting.
Hi, this is Lisa from U.S. Army Base Fort Polk. Okay, I don't buy it. I'm feeling like this is a little bit of a shakedown. It's not making sense to me. I mean, like, she's basically claiming that this guy is a vampire at a New Year's Eve party and fighting her while being racist. I'm not buying it. I'm going with the shakedown.
But he does admit biting her.
He admits biting her. I'm not denying that, and neither is he. But I mean, he's also saying that there's video, she's having a good time, whatever. I don't know. I kind of feel like at this point, she's really putting all her ducks in a row. She's gearing up for a very nice settlement.
Coming up.
Noted parent influencer Charles Barkley has some advice.
Yes, hell, you can yell at your kids. You whoop their ass, too.
Be right back.
Welcome back to TMZ Live. Noted parent influencer Charles Barkley has some advice. I say that now, I'm definitely dating myself here, but Charles Barkley, probably, 30 years ago now, got himself into huge trouble when he had this whole thing about, I'm not a role model. Don't let your kids.
30 years ago?
That was like 30 years ago when that happened.
Oh, my God.
Maybe even a little more. But
that was 30 years ago?
Yeah, you remember that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Where's the time go? So now he is talking to parents about how you discipline your kids or don't discipline your kids. He was on the Dan Patrick Show and offered this up.
Well, this is.
We'll let Chuck explain.
Res ipsa loquitur.
People talking about you can't yell at your kids. Yes, hell, you can yell at your kids. You whoop their ass, too. I believe in discipline. I'm not going around telling people to beat their kids, but I think if you don't spank your kids and discipline them, they turn into some of these brats that we got today. I'm not here just saying I'm not here for child abuse, but how are kids gonna know they're doing something wrong? First of all, you can't rationalize with kids. They're dumber than rocks. They don't know they're doing stuff wrong. But when you spank them, that gets the message across, and because they don't want that.
See, look, as a kid who was spanked and more.
Who was a problem child also.
And I was a problem child, right. But no excuse. But you don't physically hit kids. You don't do it with dogs. You shouldn't do it with dogs.
Harvey.
And so, hold on.
Okay.
Let me explain.
You don't have to bring the dogs into it.
Well, but it's true. If you're not going to do it with dogs, how do you justify doing it with kids? That there are ways of. Kids are dumb as rocks. He's right.
Yeah, he's 100% right on that. Even though it sounded harsh,
it's true.
He's right.
They're dumb as rocks.
No, not all.
But
that parents have to guide. That's the parents' job.
And you can teach them without hitting them. I mean, there are ways, and not every parent is capable of doing that, and that's just a fact. But you can't say, well, the default is just hit them.
I will say this. Until this weekend, I went and visited my godkids. I thought that there was two types of parenting: gentle parenting or you whoop and spank your kids. This weekend, I saw something that I'd never seen before.
Something in between.
In between, she yelled at those kids so sternly and so harshly that they were scared of her. She didn't have to hit them, but she also wasn't saying, Junior, go pick up your toys. It was, pick this up right now.
No,
he starts crying, get upstairs.
That's exactly right.
And I did not realize that, so I'm starting to switch.
And I think that's really that's the overarching point that Barkley is trying to make, right? That discipline, you've got to have discipline.
His point is spank the kids.
He didn't say you had to.
But I also think that sometimes that he might need a spanking every once in a while. She said that she spanked him maybe twice in his life.
The problem is that when parents don't have the sophistication to understand how to reach the child with words, they'll default to
Well,
hitting.
but also sometimes when you're trying to reach the child with words, then the child ends up like talking back, and then you're trying to
you put it
you're
into
compromising with the child.
You put it into that. The way your friend did.
Yeah, yeah.
Irene, Florida. I definitely see that there's going to be people arguing from both sides, and they're probably going to twist Charles' words out of proportion. For me, I'm very much of to each their own when it comes to parenting, because there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like how you're parenting or disciplining your kids.
So true.
And for me, it's also like, if you spank a kid, they're still going to misbehave possibly after. If you gentle parent a kid, they're still going to misbehave afterwards. So it's really such a tough situation. It just has a lot more to do with just disciplining, in my opinion.
You couldn't deal with my analogy of if you don't hit dogs, you don't hit kids. You couldn't deal with that.
I couldn't deal with it because, wait, what are you trying to say?
Because I know you don't hit dogs.
Of course.
And I think,
no, I don't hit dogs.
But I think you understand more about spanking a kid.
But I think that when you make that comparison, you lose the parents you're trying to reach because they don't like to hear dogs compared to kids.
But if you don't hit a dog, if you think it's...
I know what you're saying is true, but parents are like, oh, this guy's just about dogs.
And
He
there's
doesn't
a lot
even
of people
understand
that
kids.
also spank their dogs or don't spank their dogs and do spank their kids.
I will admit,
There's a
I
lot of
like
people.
dogs more than I like kids.
See, that...
I just do.
So he would spank the kid and not spank the dog.
To get to.
Okay, well, I said it.
Arnold Schwarzenegger getting back into bodybuilding.
Not really.
As a spectator, because he's going to be watching his son make his debut as a bodybuilder this weekend. So we noticed on his social media he had posted something where he said just one day till showtime, or he clearly was hinting at something that was going to be happening. Well, we found out this morning he is actually going to be making his debut at this competition in Denver over the weekend. You can see Arnold's helping him work on poses while he's in the gym. He's getting ready for this.
I mean,
thing.
he
He's
obviously looks good. He's competing in a natural bodybuilding competition, so he's obvious. I'm an expert when it comes to knowing when someone's on steroids. Obviously,
He's not.
and he's clearly not on steroids. So, but
Nobody in the
great
competition
physique.
can be. They actually drug
Yeah,
test.
they drug test everyone.
He goes to my gym, and number
By the way,
one,
you keep saying it's your gym. If Arnold Schwarzenegger
it's
and
Arnold's
Arnold's
gym.
son is
Okay.
going there, it's their gym.
Okay, it's
not your gym.
fair. It's Arnold's gym, and I go to it, and so does Joseph.
Right.
And I can tell you that he's like not only serious about it, but Arnold does train him. And you know when Arnold was helping him with poses? I am telling you, I did a show called Objectified with Arnold, where he went into the science of these poses.
Right.
And Arnold is just so far above everybody else
He's
that
the
there
best
is
bodybuilder of
No,
all
I know, but there
time.
is such an art to it, and he's taught his son that. He loves Joseph.
Can I ask you something? Does anyone wear a shirt at this gym?
No, they do. I don't see this when I'm there. I mean,
Yeah, but you're there at like the crack of dawn. in the
no,
morning,
but
so
there.
like,
Well, first of all, you don't have to say that. But there are.
You act like you're talking about it being your gym. Everyone knows where these guys work out. It's a very famous place.
By the way, he's
Yeah.
a realtor in L.A.
Joseph Baena is a Renaissance man.
He is.
He is a bodybuilder.
Got an
He's
MBA from Pepperdine.
MBA. He's an actor. He also posted something about an audition that he was doing.
He is
He's been
Arnold.
busy.
He is Arnold reincarnated.
Now that looks like young Arnold.
See?
That does.
Coming up.
Ever since Diddy went to prison, people have been sort of looking to see which of his friends are
Would stick by him.
distancing. Yeah, who's going to stand by him and who's going to distance themselves. And Usher sat down recently for an interview with Forbes and had this to say about Diddy. And then we're going to tell you how Diddy feels about this.
Be right back.
Ever since Diddy went to prison, people have been sort of looking to see which of his friends are
Would stick by him.
distancing. Yeah, who's going to stand by him and who's going to distance themselves from him. Actually, that started from before the trial even. There was the distancing that was clearly happening. One of the people who has always been tied to Diddy, they had a very close relationship, working relationship, as well as being friends, is Usher. And Usher sat down recently for an interview with Forbes and had this to say about Diddy. And then we're going to tell you how Diddy feels about this.
I mean, this might be a bit controversial, but in the same way, I think many people choose to look past the reality of what our country is the standards that we now stand on, we can't ignore the reality of the history. But in many ways, I think certain people are prosecuted and maybe not recognized for the greatness, that they offer. I don't have anything negative to say about Sean Combs because my experience was not what the world has seen and how he's been, misrepresented. I'm not saying that every man is perfect. I'm not saying that all of us don't have flaws, but I can't, with any sense of humanity, not recognize the valuable contributions that this man made.
The weird thing about this is he once said that when he was 13, he was exposed to things with Diddy that a 13-year-old shouldn't have been exposed to.
But he didn't say it as
he didn't say what it was. Well,
right.
He didn't say what it was, but that's not a positive statement.
No, but I mean, he wasn't saying he was a victim of something. He was just saying he saw things he said he shouldn't.
Right, and that's not.
No, I know what you're saying, but I just want to make it clear he wasn't saying he was victimized in some way.
So from Diddy's point of view, he's got to like it.
Yes, as you'd imagine, he did. His rep told us, "I've always had love and respect for Usher. I appreciate his words and everything he's achieved." So obviously, Diddy's going to feel good about this. But I would say, when I was listening to what Usher was saying, he's talking about the Mann Act. He was kind of attacking the Mann Act and that it's been used historically in America to
He's
prosecute.
talked about the Mann Act, but it's hard to overlook the Cassie video, even though he wasn't prosecuted for that.
I think there's a bigger argument to that, too, and it is a lot of race, is that I've seen this conversation about the black artists like Diddy and R. Kelly who are like, they're monsters, cancel them, never play their music, they're gone, erase them. But there's a lot of white people we don't do that to. Phil Spector abused his first wife, beat her horribly, shot a woman in the face, went to prison for it. Nobody's ever talked about getting rid of his contribution to music or diminishing how important he was as a producer.
Phil Spector's a little different because he wasn't really in front of the camera.
But Phil Spector's sound...
But still, like, historically, we don't go back and erase his contributions. Nobody talks about how talented R. Kelly was now.
You can't, like, boycott the Ronettes because of Phil Spector.
Well, that's what people... I mean, listen, Diddy is more prolific as a producer.
Yeah, but people know him. He's a famous guy whose face is out there.
But do you listen to all the artists he produced then?
I'm not arguing your point. I'm just saying I think there's a difference between Phil Spector.
There have been a lot of white musicians also who've been accused of some really horrible things over the years. And we're like, oh, those are just rock star guys that like did horrible things to groupies, underage girls. None of their legacies are in danger.
The reality here is, number one, in a way, well, not in a way, prosecutors lost the case against Diddy because what they got him on was an archaic, ridiculous law. And they didn't get him on the serious charges, and they wouldn't have charged him if they weren't going to go after that.
Right.
And you still have the Cassie video, which everybody remembers, but I think the fact that he's in prison for a couple of years gives him a chance to reset when he gets out.
Hey, this is Rob Schuster in New York City. I think Usher has started the comeback Diddy tour for him, and we're going to see now more artists come forward and defend Diddy.
That's actually a good point. The American and the British flag. I like it.
Rob's got it all covered.
A little refreshing there.
Good to see you. Good to see you. So I used to work for Diddy. I was Diddy's publicist in the early 2000s. And I think Usher here being really loyal, really kind to Diddy is probably a smart thing for him to do as far as their fan base is concerned here. What my big question is, though, is that I'm not sure this loyalty runs both ways. When I worked with Diddy, he wasn't always that kind to Usher. They sort of always put Usher down a little bit. And so I think Usher's doing a really, really honorable thing here. He believes this, but I think that Cassie video is something that is going to be burnt in our memories for
sure.
Coming up.
This is hysterical and really eye-opening in terms of what AI can do.
We showed you the video of the neighborhood dispute between Alan Ritchson, the Reacher star, and his neighbor Ronnie. Someone decided to put the whole thing together in one short film.
Be right back.
This is hysterical. This is hysterical and really eye-opening in terms of what AI can do.
And how quickly someone out there has decided to do this. So we showed you the video of the neighborhood dispute between Alan Ritchson, the Reacher star, and his neighbor Ronnie. Ronnie was ticked off that Alan was speeding around in his eyes, speeding around the neighborhood on motorcycles, and they get into this big fight, much of it captured on camera. But someone decided to put the whole thing together in one short film. Yes, this is AI generated, but man, is it entertaining.
Unbelievable.
In a quiet neighborhood, one man saw a motorcycle and still chose chaos.
Look at the motorcycle.
One terrible decision, what should have been an apology, became a neighborhood event.
What are you gonna do? You've been driving around my neighborhood like a lunatic. Kick me, you piece.
Gladly.
I mean, it's just incredible
how well it recreates things and fills in blanks, because obviously we didn't have all that much detail on the dialogue.
Do you know what this is?
But
This is the AI version of what Ryan Murphy does. It's exactly the AI version. It's like, you know, you kind of know the story, but you don't really know the story, so he kind of makes up the middle, and it works.
I don't know how much of it is planned by AI or how much of it is actually prompted, but my favorite part of the trailer is when it has that really big close-up of Alan Ritchson, and then he takes off the helmet. It's like the star is there.
Oh, it's just the best. By the way, the DA, or the prosecutor in the case, they've declined to prosecute Alan.
No charges are going to be filed.
But the thing about it is, they said it was self-defense. Alan's got a good lawyer because it was mutual combat. It was not self-defense.
Yeah.
It's
as Ronnie's cowering on the ground.
Self-defense.
Case in point.
Hi, this is Dina from Pennsylvania. AI has gotten so out of hand. This looks so real. I feel like if I posted it on Facebook, half of people on my Facebook would probably think it was actually a real video.
Yeah.
I love that they added John Cena in there.
Yes. John Cena has the cameo at the end as the neighbor who's recording it through the window.
Of course it's John Cena.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Well, the First Lady was hosting a tech event at the White House. Melania had quite the introduction at this event.
Thank you, First Lady Melania Trump, for inviting me to the White House.
Be right back.
Well, the First Lady was hosting a tech event at the White House with some other First Ladies from around the world.
Is that a First Lady?
Well, it's the first humanoid lady with the First Lady. Yes, Melania had quite the introduction at this event. Check this out.
Thank you, First Lady Melania Trump, for inviting me to the White House. It is an honor to be at Fostering the Future Together's Global Coalition inaugural meeting.
Figure 3, thank you for joining me at day 2 of Fostering the Future Together. It's fair to state you're my first American-made humanoid guest in the White House.
I know that you're not supposed to say this, and it's triggering. But she and Macron's wife, they got a smile. That was funny. And they're acting like this is totally serious.
When did we start calling them humanoids? I thought they were androids.
Yeah.
Now they
get with the times,
co-opted
man.
this? Now they're humanoids?
I'll tell you, Tristan Harris, you should hear and read him, because the future, folks, it's not in our hands.
Great.